Hello, everybody. This evening we are joined by Ms. Yoshimi Hasegawa, who is one of my favorite menswear writers in Japan. And Ms. Hasegawa has written a bunch of really wonderful books on menswear, such as Sartoria Italiana or Italian Tailoring in its English form, as well as a bunch of other books on English tailoring in general. Yoshimi-san, thank you for joining us this evening.
And thank you very much for inviting me and giving me this wonderful opportunity.
Oh yeah, thanks for letting us use your living room. Actually, I think that's the fun part for me.
Yes. Then so finally, so you came to my flat, and so from the beginning, so I was speaking about this planning.
Yoshimi-san made pasta for us, and it was super good. It was wonderful. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about your career? You've had a very interesting career, and you didn't start as a menswear writer either.
No. So actually, so you know that so Japan is quite famous for the gender gap, and then so after I graduated the university, my parents forced me to work for the big company. Then I started working for the one clothing company. It's called Renown. Then at that moment, Renown was one of the biggest clothing company in Japan. But I could see that maybe for long time, it's very difficult to continue job as a woman. Then I started working with the British automobile industry.
Okay.
Then I really enjoyed working with them for many years. Then after that, I moved on to the journalism.
And what were you doing in the British automotive industry?
So mainly, I was dealing with the British sports cars. It's quite like the solid one. Then, but there are also, a bunch of the car enthusiasts. I really enjoyed working with them. And then I thought maybe I really wanted to discover more.
What attracted you to British cars?
I think if you say the British cars, that is the huge variety. So one build is like in the backyard garage, and another one is Formula One cars. Then, and there are many car enthusiasts in UK. So they really enjoy their passions and also if you can say the craftsmanship and the history or so those kind of. So you don't have to be rich to enjoy cars. So that is quite interesting thing to see, and also it has the hierarchy, big hierarchy on top of the end of that. So that is a Formula One. Then, and also so you can just on weekend you can go to the kart with your children. Yeah.
And you had a specialty, you had a niche for yourself in the British automotive industry too, didn't you? What was that? Because I remember last time we had a kind of a chat about your previous life. You were a specialist in Lotus, weren't you? In Lotus cars.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Just because you don't meet specialists in Lotuses all the time either.
At that moment, in Japan, there wasn't any specialist for Lotus Esprit. There were many Lotus specialists in Japan, but it's because of the contract and some difficulty issues. So no one could import the Lotus cars from Lotus dealers. Then, because of the contract issues, it was very difficult. Then I went there. I negotiated with the Lotus dealers, and also at the end of the day, so I had the discussion with Lotus Cars itself. Then had a discussion with the manufacturers. That was quite exciting. I was young.
Yeah.
Then every 6 months, I went to England to buy the 2 Esprit or 3 Esprit.
Wow.
So that was very exciting.
Yeah, that does sound pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And then at some point you decided you wanted to move on and try something new, which
Yes.
was writing.
Yeah.
And was it immediately into menswear writing, or you tried writing for other fields as well?
Basically, I started writing for about the cars because that is my specialty. But gradually, because I graduated at university, then I had the enough knowledge about the art and the culture. Then, so being the journalist is the long time my dream. So when I was a child, so always many people says that you are very talented for writing. Then I thought I wanted to try once. Then, and at the same time, I thought that even during this dealing with the British automotive industry, I could see so many rich people. Then I thought that even I'm working so hard, I will be the rich like them. Then what is the reason I'm working for hard? Then I thought I'd like to leave a testimony of my life. Then I thought that is the journalism and the publishing books.
I see. Interesting. So it's like a legacy for you.
Yes. The reason of being born.
And what attracts you? What do you like about menswear in general? Or actually, let me change the question. Is tailoring a menswear thing, or is it now genderless? It can be men's or women's.
If you say so, the tailoring, then so that is about the menswear, but at the same time, the core of the menswear is tailored garments. Then I think that so nowadays genderless. So one is that people can wear anything. Then and at the same time, so more women needs to work. Then they'd like to break the ceiling, the glass ceiling of the careers. Then if they really want to work as a directors, then they need the, I think, tailored garments.
Interesting.
So you could say that so tailored garment is the quite easiest way to look properly, and also the better. So you look better if you are wearing the suit and you feel the confident.
So man or woman, you feel like you look better in tailoring.
Yes, I think so.
You heard that, right? You
Yeah.
heard that.
I mean, so if you, I mean, so working environment, it would be better to have suit. So
Yeah.
without suit, it's very difficult to get the respect, or you show the respect. So the both sides.
Yeah. And I feel like, especially in Japan, like in being in tailored clothing is very much part of professional culture also.
Yeah, I think so, but maybe that is the quite interesting issues for quite a long time in Japan. So we don't have any kind of the history of the tailoring. In Europe, like, so you always telling me that, so you started to be interested in the tailoring because of your father.
Yeah, that's right.
Then many people knows already that, so what should you wear? But in Japan, so some people know, but some people don't know about anything. Then, so people are feeling, so we must wear the suits because of everyone wears the suits. Then, so it doesn't mean that what kind of quality, and it doesn't mean that what kind of wardrobe you have to build it up. Then, I think now is so Japanese people realize that now is a time. So you have to build up your wardrobe as a weapon.
Interesting. Do you think that's still true right now? Having gone through 2 years of COVID, do you think Japanese people's professional wardrobes are still pretty similar to pre-COVID, or do you think people have different dress codes now, like different standards?
It has different standards. Of course, it's more casual, but even it's more casual. So now people are going back to the office. Then, So if you're wearing the pullover or sweaters all the time, then how you behave like that? So you are the director of the company. Then, so if you are, of course, the Jeff Bezos, or so if you are kind of the super person, of course you can wear anything.
Yeah.
But normal, ordinary people, I think it would be better to wear a suit.
Yeah, I think so.
It's easier.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly it. It is easier.
Yeah.
Right. It is easier when everyone kind of has a sense of what they're meant to be wearing for their job. It's just one less thing to think about.
Yeah.
And plus, it's generally pretty flattering. Everyone generally looks pretty good in tailored clothing. You know.
So, I think maybe so if you're a teenager, of course you can wear the just white t-shirts and jeans, look great. But a certain age, it would be very difficult to show your body with the casual clothes.
I'm already at that age, believe me. So.
No. You are always young. But
Oh man.
anyway, so I mean, even wearing the sweaters, how you look great.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about your books.
Yeah.
What was the first book you wrote?
The first book is I think that I wrote another books about the wisdom of Churchill, but maybe it's for the men's tailoring. This is the first book. It's called the Savile Row. So this is my another challenge. So Japanese. I grew up in quite conservative Japanese society. Then always people say that you are a woman, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this. Then I said I want to be a writer, I want to be a journalist. Then I would like to publish books like this. Then everyone says that so it's impossible. You cannot do this.
Yeah.
And then in Japan, so this kind of coffee table book never be successful. Then you cannot do this. But I said, so I don't want to make any kind of similar type of book as the magazines. So if there are many information and pictures, and then people, of course, they can buy magazines rather than books. Then I would like to make a kind of documentary of these books. And also I would like to describe the historical background.
Sure.
And at the same time, now always the Savile Row is a very difficult place to continue the tailoring business. Then I described how difficult and how they survived.
Well, you really proved them wrong. I mean, the book is wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Were you happy with how it turned out?
Yes, because everyone was so surprised. The author was and also the book was successful.
Well, I think also, at least for me, who's read quite a few of your books, like they should be surprised that the quality of the information is really, really high. Because I've always thought of you as someone who really goes above and beyond when it comes to research for not just your books, but even for your magazine articles. Because you write regularly for the Rake Japan and for quite a few of the other men's magazines in Japan as well. So kudos to you, absolutely. Okay, so this was your first book, and then what came after this?
Then after that, I think so this one is the Harry Street and Alan Sweater.
Was this ever in English? I can't remember now.
No, this is only in Japanese. But I think the quality is quite high. So this is the half is about the Harry Street. Then half of them is the Alan Sweater in Ireland. The Scotland and Ireland combined together.
What sort of people read a book like this in Japan?
In Japan, people, so in Japan, might be the same as the Ivy generation. They are great fan of the Harry Street and Alan jumpers. I think that is a huge boom of this happened in 1970s.
What happened in 1970s?
1970s, I think Alan jumpers. This is the Ban produced the fisherman sweater. Then it's hugely popular and everyone was wearing. People say so. And also the Harry Street is like there is a famous film about the graduation, Dustin Hoffman. Then he was wearing the Harry Street and so on, and that is the maybe the double effect of the ivy and the Harry Street and the jacket and so on, so on.
This is kind of separate, but you know, there was the ivy style trend in Japan. A lot of it was to do with Van. Van is a really important Japanese fashion company that's now long dead now, right?
Yeah.
Been gone for a while. But they were all about ivy style.
Yeah.
And following that, there was kind of a British trend as well. But then it got to a point where Classico Italia, like Italian classic style, just took over everything.
Yes.
How did you feel about that?
Actually, because of Japanese people don't have the education, I think the basic education like European. Then so someone says that this is the quite good thing. Then you have to follow this. That is becoming the trend. Then people get bored. Then next trend and the next trend and the next trend. So that is if you say fashion, that is quite good. But at the same time, always changing. Then so it's not good for the men's wardrobe.
Yeah. It's nice to have things that stay in your wardrobe for quite a while too.
And also I think that now is if you can watch the TV, even the newscasters, some TV casters, and also some even senior people, they are wearing very badly.
Okay.
Because I think that people don't think about the button-down shirts, or they don't have the basic knowledge about Western clothes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also always the introduction of the people, they are the buyers or they are sellers. Of course, they say that you should buy this because this is good and this is trend or something like this. Even now, always, of course, they are doing the not propaganda, but it's a good information, and also but that is the reason why they are doing this, because they want to sell the products.
Yeah. But culturally, like in terms of like a business, not a business culture, maybe like a business model, Japan got really good at that. As in, Japan got really good at instructing consumers how to wear something, and then because you know how to wear it, you should buy it now. You know, that's a very Japanese thing to me.
Yeah. I think because Japanese, like the department store, they really care about the customers, what they really want. Then customers are like a god, and they can say anything and they can ask anything. Then this kind of the business systems, I think it's quite the consumer friendly.
Yeah, definitely. What is that term for when a department store, like you're a VIP customer at the department store, and the department store will bring the clothes to your house?
Yeah.
What's the name of that?
Gaisho?
Gaisho. Yeah.
So Gaisho has a special power for the consumption in Japan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because a lot of department stores, literally, like that's a massive chunk of their business, right?
Yeah.
And they turn up with just like a truck of clothes that they think you might want, and because you're a VIP, you can just enjoy it in the comfort of your living room, and you pick what you want, and then they sell that to you, and they take the rest away, right?
Yeah. And also some people, Japanese people mentality are kind of the loyalty. So if they really like the sales clerk, and they said, if you say good, okay, I will going to get it, or I will buy it.
Yeah, like there's a lot of trust with your sales associate.
That kind of relationship is the good way for many years. But now is different generation came. Then maybe we have to think about how we could change those business systems.
Interesting. I would love to do a separate video on that someday, and to get some of our friends at, say, like Isetan or something to talk about it, because I think that style of doing business is super interesting. But anyway, we just keep going. So after this book, what came next?
Then after that, this is my another challenge is so many people are asking me that why why you didn't publish your book in English. But of course, I'm a Japanese, then the publisher is Japanese. Then I would like to publish in bilingual version. But this is surprisingly both the Japanese and English.
Yeah, I remember. When was it? This was 2011 or 12, something like that?
No, much.
Was it later?
Later, yeah. So 2012 is like this.
Okay.
Yeah. But this is huge challenge, and also it's very difficult because the layout.
Yeah.
I have to delete I have to adjust the layout. So Japanese and English both. It's very difficult to.
You know, another reason I'm really glad you wrote these books is because it's a very interesting record. You know, like this was kind of like a really golden moment for tailors. And I think right now, especially in the last 2 years, let's be honest, like tailors have not had an easy time. Like not as many people are going to tailors to make clothing. And this was a really nice record of them at a very perfect moment in their business careers.
Yes, then this book is all about it's called a bespoke style, but it's about the British craftsmanship. Then I'd like to. So this Savile is. I explained what is Savile, what is the history at the beginning. Then this is. I'd like to explain about the brief history of menswear for this. Then after that, of course, if you say the menswear and the tailoring and the craftsmanship, that is related to and influenced strongly by the military uniforms.
Of course.
Then I put some military uniforms tips, and of course shoes, the must-have. Then, so this book has not only for tailors and also the bespoke.
Can I move this glass? It's making me super nervous.
Sorry.
I don't want to spill red wine all over your living room.
Yeah. I did so many times.
Wow, this book is great though. I love that you got a lot of the bespoke shoemakers in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fabulous.
Yeah, bespoke shoemakers are. So this is another issue of the kind of ancient business. And then, so some bespoke shoes are almost hard to believe that the made by hand from scratch.
It's a wonderful craft.
Yeah.
And Japan now is such a beautiful tradition for handmade shoes too.
I think the mentality-wise, I think Japanese people are quite good at making shoes and leather.
Definitely. Definitely.
Also,
why do you think that is?
I think Japanese people basically, if you say the craftsman, they don't care about how much effort you have to. So that is a job you choose. That is a mentality. Then they are quite pleased to. They dedicated for their own life to make the best products as much as possible. I think, but the making bespoke shoes is very hard, and you need to train so many hours. And also that you need to have a certain talent if you'd like to make a beautiful bespoke shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, and then this kind of was the end of your UK arc. And you moved on to an Italian arc after that. So what came next after this?
Then I never thought I could make the Italian tailoring book. Because there are two big streams. One is British tailoring, and another one is Italian tailoring. But as you said, classical Italy or those kind of big streams, I don't think that I could get into. So because of the British motor industry, or I have many good friends, I could get. So they introduced me to get into the Savile and then the bespoke shoes and so on. but I don't think I could get into. But one day, Vitale Barber's Canonico came to me, and they said, so they are quite concerned about the great maestro. The average age is the over 70s, and also so every year they are disappearing.
Yeah.
And they offered me to make the book like the Savilo, but the Sartoria Italian version.
I love this book, by the way.
Oh, thank you
I
very
read
much.
this like cover to cover. I think it's amazing.
Thank you.
Because what was really amazing about this book is that you managed to make every tailor distinct. You know?
Yes.
I think a lesser journalist would really have struggled to make that many different tailors, not all kind of like mush into one, right? Because they all have really beautiful, interesting, and distinct stories. So I absolutely loved it.
Yes.
How many tailors did you visit to write Sartoria Italiana?
27.
Wow. Okay. And you did this yourself, basically, too.
Yes, of course. So it was an incredible journey from the train, then Palermo, from north to south. Then, but for example, I expected Palermo, Sicily is similar to the Naples because of the geographical reason. But once I went there, so totally different. The Palermo was some point it's quite influenced by the British tailoring. Then the Napoli, so totally different. And also Napoli has the 14 tailors and plants. I would like to describe it as the cultural aspects because of no one ever has to visit. Even so, as you said, even it's a quite small tailor in a small village. Then some tailors are incredibly good, but they don't want to expand at all. Then I was so shocked to see that they are just two people, and they said so the tailor is not so good job for living the money. Then maybe so he would like to finish or something like this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the quite famous tailors, very top of the world, like the Caraceni, Liberano and Liberano, and then the Antonio Panico, and then the
Rubinacci even.
Yeah, Rubinacci, yes, yeah. And then historical issues, then Rubinacci and Antonio Panico, and then visiting the 14 tailors in Naples is very important for me and important for the book.
Yeah. Can you briefly, this might be a very difficult question, can you briefly describe the differences in the different parts of Italy when it comes to tailoring?
Basically, now is the so many tailors. So basically, in southern, there isn't any proper industry for making living for some people. Then there are many tailoring industries and tailors in Naples exist. Then so they are going back to the Italy. That is so since maybe the 1950s or even longer. So some southern tailors are going to north to making living, so like Liberano. Then now it's very difficult to see the difference between the northern and the south. But basically, north is so Italy is the quite diverse of the countries. This is not the one country culture like England.
Yeah.
Then so basically they are different people, different folks. Not Italian.
Yeah. It wasn't that long ago when it was a bunch of little warring states that all just happened to glob together.
Yeah. Then that is just 100 or something like years ago. Then the north is quite similar to the the mentality and aesthetic is quite similar to maybe French and also British. Then it's quite structured. Then the Florence has this is another different part of country, but still in the middle of so north and in the middle. Then they much more, and also they feel like because of so they have the quite long history of fighting. Then so their aesthetic is quite masculine. So they're fighters or so Casentino. So not feminine like. So in Naples, they have the royal and also quite rich country used to be. Then they have the many aristocrats. So they have the very flourish culture, and also because of the weather. So they always they prefer the lightweight. Then so the temperature and the mentality. So totally different.
And that's one of the things I really love about Italy and tailoring in Italy is that it's always very expressive of the place that it comes from, you know. Like you can kind of tell when a suit is from Milan, you can kind of tell when a suit is from somewhere in the south, Naples or Sicily, whatever too. And even Florence, like as this thing that's in between north and south, definitely has its own look too.
Then the Rome is quite, so Rome, the style in Rome is very similar to Paris. I think because of so clientele are similar to Paris, and also they are strongly connected to the politics. Then they really like the structured type of garments.
Okay. What's your next book after this? Is there a next book after this?
So this is my question about you. So do you think that Asia will be the next leader of menswear for the future?
I think it depends on what sort of menswear you're talking about. Yeah, I think there's a chance for sure. I think actually China is a big question mark, right? Like I think people still look at China as like as not a place that has an aesthetic that you want to look up to. But I think there will come a point where like young Chinese people evolve into actually very talented designers, and then they'll be able to contribute to the world of style in their own way too, you know. And I mean, we've already seen that with Japan, right? Like Japan has people like Rei Kawakubo, Yoji Yamamoto, Issey Miyake, like so many amazing designers came out of Japan in the last 50 years. And I think it would be unfair to say that, that might never happen for China either, you know. And also, actually, to be fair, Korea, also some incredible tailors coming out of Korea, some incredible brands coming out of Korea. So, you know, like I think that the world of style will become more diverse, and I think that's a good thing. I think actually, if there was a book I would be very curious about, it would be more, and maybe this is not such a good general appeal book, but I am fascinated by how Japan basically kept the classical Italia style going for so long. You know, there was just like, it was like this perfect storm of a bunch of different factors, right? Like people were interested in Italy, just about had enough money to do it. There was enough brands and department stores and whatnot that were willing to push it along. And it kind of became like the standard. And I think if you were to, for instance, go back to when I was starting to get more into menswear, maybe like 15, 20 years ago, like, man, if you wanted to see really good classical Italian style, you were actually better off looking at Japanese magazines and looking at Japanese examples, because it was always so smartly put together and so smartly presented. You know, it was always very understandable. And this is, like I was saying before, something that Japanese fashion brands and Japanese fashion media do really well. Like they really know how to present something that's easy to understand and easy to buy into as well. Like for me, even though I grew up in the UK, I'd never visited Italy when I was young, and Italy was actually in many ways more foreign to me than Japan was, despite it being much closer to me. So I think there's an interesting kind of fashion history record to be written to fill in that gap, because I think that gap is super interesting.
Yeah.
And plus, a lot of those guys are still around. Like I would say people like Nakamura-san, for instance, at Beams, right? He definitely is one of the founders of like classical Italia style in Japan. You know?
I think as an icon, or maybe so kind of trend leaders, Japanese are quite sensitive about the trend and what's next and what's next. I think that is a quite good matching of the Instagram.
Yeah.
Then, so putting the information on SNS is the quite good way for the customers.
Yeah.
So what is the trend of the time and what's next? But at the same time, if you are going, I think the both ways is a good way. So people want to buy it, but at the same time, just going to the trend and trend and trend, and people are tiring of this.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's kind of where the world is moving towards as well, right? Like, I think even though fast fashion is, because fast fashion is basically the final step of that whole system, right? You can't really get any faster than fast fashion. The whole point of fast fashion is that things change super fast and you've always got something new to buy. But I think that even the financial tide hasn't turned, the popular tide I think is starting to turn, right? Like people definitely don't brag about buying something from H&M because they also don't want to be associated with fast fashion. Whereas before they were like, whatever, I don't mind being associated with it. You know? So we'll see what comes next, right?
Yeah. I think I expect even not only men, I think the women, so they realized, so they need to have the tailored garments, so proper tailored garments in their wardrobes for work. Then, so they need to build up the wardrobe. So in Japan, so some people have the quite big knowledge about the clothes, but some people don't think about how to build up the wardrobes. Then, if you know more and you need less.
Yeah. I mean, I love, and this is the approach that we try to take at the Armoury, is that we like the idea of building a wardrobe for somebody. You know, like it's fine to sell somebody a single garment, but what's more interesting is like really helping them figure out what does their wardrobe need to look like to like serve all their needs and to reflect who they are, and also to help them present themselves professionally when they need to, you know?
And also if someone in Japan, so black tie or so those kind of protocol is not so common. Then if you have the reception, and some people is wearing the black tie, and some people is wearing the jacket and jeans, and so on, so on, and so on.
Yeah.
And if you're wearing, so Japanese say the tuxedo, that is a dinner suit, then normally they are wearing maybe for the wedding, but it doesn't mean the black tie. Then usually they are wearing the black suit, then white tie for the wedding.
Actually, that's a fun thing to dig into for a second. Like, is it a Japanese thing when I see guys in silver tuxedos?
Yes, very much so. And also the blue or the colored tuxedo.
Where the hell did this come from?
I think Japanese, but basically, I mean, for the menswear and even clothing, always leading the designers. Then designers' imagination and creative doesn't match for the menswear rules.
Of course.
So if you have the basic knowledge, then you said, so I shouldn't wear this for my wedding. But if, of course, if there's a wedding planner or those kind of people, they don't have enough knowledge about the basic menswear or the basic formal wear. Then if professional says maybe in summer, you should wear the blue type of the tuxedo is nice than they are wearing in Hawaii. But
because I don't mind, like, I don't even mind a blue tuxedo. If it was like a springtime wedding and the environment was appropriate, I can live with that. But it's like when it goes into like silver and really, really shiny, you know,
Yes.
and then with
Yes.
like that very puffy kind of
yes,
cravat,
yeah,
I'm like, wow, that's...
yes, that's wow.
Yeah.
That's wow.
When do you think that started?
I think for many years,
Many years, huh?
it's not very special things to say.
Yeah.
So this is the reason I say that. So nowadays, I think that not only for the Japanese society. So if you go abroad, you need the proper knowledge about the menswear wardrobe. Then you don't have to feel terrified. And also, if you have to choose the occasion, so if you are dressed up, that is the better situation than the only one you are the dressed down.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. What's that phrase?
At
Better
least.
better to be dressed up than dressed down.
Yes.
Yeah. Very true. Okay,
Yes.
we should wrap up.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we finish up?
I think that's so you are. So you have the responsibility for the teaching those kind of menswear wardrobe issues, and the people quite expect to do so.
Yeah, we try. You know, we try to give our view, and hopefully we try to give rules that are reasonable and that people can understand.
Then, so you have the both type of views. So you are English, and at the same time that you are Asian. Then you are familiar with the Japanese culture. Then, so you can give the best advice for anyone.
Not about the best, but we try. We try. I think that especially right now, where there's a lot of different subcultures, there's a lot of different kind of aesthetics going on.
Yes, yes.
It is healthy to not. I mean, this is bad because we just said this whole thing about shiny wedding suits, which I'm not a fan of. But I do think at the end of the day, like, people should try to enjoy what they wear, because I think that's really, really important. Because I think
yes.
what's even more unhealthy is when you really dislike what you wear, you know. And sometimes, like, knowing the rules and knowing why it's good to wear certain things actually makes you appreciate it more.
Yes.
It makes it more enjoyable to wear, you know.
And I mean, so if you have to wear the tailored garments, that is the most of things for work or for social issues. Then if you have enough knowledge, of course that you can have the more casual down, or you can break by your own way. But unless you know enough knowledge, you cannot do this. You cannot enjoy.
It's true. Okay, well, Yoshimi-san, thank you for your time this evening.
Yes, thank you very much. I really enjoyed, as always. And thank you very much for everyone to watch this.
Yeah. All right. Till the next episode. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thank you very much.